There are about 10,000 study hours in the 2 years before your big exam. Here's the part nobody warned you about. Most students spend 6,000 of them feeling productive and learning almost nothing. Because the cruelest trick in all of studying is this: the techniques that feel the best are usually the ones doing the least. Right now it's 9 p.m. Your desk is a graveyard of yellow highlighter. You've studied for 4 hours. Your textbook glows like a warning sign. And tomorrow morning, when the teacher asks one question from page 112, you'll remember almost none of it. You'll blame yourself. You'll decide you're just not smart enough. You're wrong. You were sold a lie about what learning is supposed to look like. So let's rank every study technique you've ever used, from the ones quietly stealing your time to the one that changes everything. Fair warning, the techniques you trust most are sitting at the very bottom. Number 7, highlighting. Verdict: useless. You open the book, uncap the yellow, and start painting. Every important line, glowing. By the end of the page, it looks like a sunset, and you feel that warm little hit of progress. 20 minutes later, the page is more yellow than white, which somehow feels like it should count for double. Here's the problem. Your brain didn't do anything. Dragging a marker across a sentence is a hand movement, not a thought. Researchers who study this keep finding the same thing. Highlighting barely improves what you remember, and sometimes it makes it worse, because a wall of yellow tricks you into thinking you already know the page you've never once tried to recall. It's the purest example of the trap this whole video is about. The feeling of learning and the fact of learning are not the same thing. 2 rows over, there's a girl who tops every test. Watch her sometime. She never touches a highlighter. You don't know her secret yet. You will at number 2. The highlighter isn't evil, but right now it's the most useless tool on your desk. Number 6, rereading. Verdict: useless. So you read the chapter again, and again. The third time it feels smooth, familiar, almost easy. And that easy feeling is exactly the con. It's called the fluency illusion. When words look familiar, your brain reports back, "We know this," and takes the credit. But recognizing something on the page is not the same as producing it from an empty one. Recognition is a liar. It shows you the answer and lets you feel like you found it. You've read this exact page 4 times. Close the book right now and explain it out loud. And watch how fast that confidence evaporates into silence. The exam will never hand you the paragraph and ask if it looks familiar. It hands you a blank space and asks you to fill it. And a blank space is the one thing rereading never, ever prepares you for. You reread because it's comfortable, and comfortable is the feeling you'll learn to distrust by the end of this list. Every technique climbing up these ranks gets harder, not easier. That's not a coincidence. That's the whole secret. Number 5, the all-nighter. Verdict: useless where it counts. The night before the test, you cram everything in one desperate, caffeinated marathon. And it kind of works, for about 11 hours. You walk in, dump it on the page, walk out empty. And you'll remember the exact moment in the hall when a fact you screamed into your head at 3 a.m. simply isn't there anymore. A clean white blank where the answer was sleeping 8 hours ago. Then comes the forgetting curve. Without anything to reinforce it, your brain sheds most of what you crammed within a day or 2. By next week, the chapter is a ghost. By the final board exam that pulls from the whole year, it's gone. Cramming isn't studying. It's renting information you'll be evicted from by the weekend. It feels heroic, the sacrifice, the exhaustion, the 4 a.m. But effort you can feel is not the same as effort that lasts. You keep reaching for the highlighter out of pure habit, capping and uncapping it while you panic. Put it down. We're finally leaving the useless tier. Number 4. Pretty notes and the rewatch. Verdict: mediocre. This is the most seductive trap of all because it looks exactly like dedication. You rewrite your notes in 4 colors until they're beautiful enough to frame. You replay the lecture at 1.5x, nodding along, everything making perfect sense. It feels productive. It photographs well. And it's mostly procrastination wearing a lab coat. Copying is still just moving words from one place to another without asking your brain to build anything. Watching a solution feels like understanding, until you face a blank page and realize watching someone swim taught you nothing about not drowning. There's a sharper way to say it. You do not learn by putting information in. You learn by dragging it back out. Everything so far has been about input. Everything above this line is about output. That single line is where useless ends and powerful begins. Number 3. Spaced repetition. Verdict: powerful. Here's where it turns. Instead of studying a topic once for 4 hours, you study it for 20 minutes today, revisit it in 2 days, again in a week, again before it fades. Each time you're about to forget it, you pull it back. And every rescue makes the memory harder to kill. Researchers have confirmed this for over a century. The same total hours, simply spread out, can dramatically outperform one long session. Same effort, different timing, enormous difference. 15 minutes on Monday, 10 on Wednesday, 10 again on Sunday will bury a topic deeper than 2 panicked hours the night before ever could, and steal less of your life doing it. It works because it deliberately makes things a little harder. You come back when the memory has gone slightly fuzzy, and that fuzziness, that small strain of reaching, is the exact moment learning happens. Notice the pattern climbing this list. Every technique that works feels slightly uncomfortable, and every technique that fails feels smooth. If it feels easy, it's probably not working. The girl 2 rows over? She figured this out years ago. But it's not her real secret. That's next. Number 2. Active recall. Verdict: game-changing. This is her secret. She closes the book and writes down everything she can remember, from nothing. Then she opens it and finds the gaps. You watched her do it once and thought she was a little strange, talking to a blank notebook, frowning, scribbling, checking the book, scribbling again. She wasn't revising. She was interrogating herself. While you painted pages gold, she was failing on purpose, quietly, in private, so she would never have to fail in public. That's it. That's the whole thing that separates the top students from the ones grinding twice as hard for half the result. Not rereading, retrieving. In one well-known study, students who tested themselves once remembered far more a week later than students who reread the same material 4 times. 4 times the input lost to a single act of pulling it back out. It feels awful at first. Staring at a blank page, dredging your memory, getting things wrong, it feels like failing. But that struggle is not the sign you're bad at this. It is the sound of the memory being carved deeper. Your brain remembers what it fights to retrieve, never what it comfortably reread. The highlighter is finally down. In its place, a blank sheet and the courage to face it. Number 1. The Feynman technique. Verdict: the ceiling. The single most powerful thing you can do is explain a concept out loud, in the simplest possible words, as if teaching a 10-year-old. The instant you try, every gap detonates. You breeze along and then hit a spot where the words dissolve, and that dead air is your understanding showing you exactly where it's fake. You can't fake teaching. Either you get it or the sentence collapses. Nothing on earth exposes what you truly know faster. But there's a catch, and it's why most students never actually use it. You need someone on the other side. Someone to catch the gap and ask, okay, but why? At the precise moment you're bluffing. At 11 p.m., with everyone asleep, that someone is almost impossible to find. That's the quiet fix the toppers found. A patient tutor you can keep in your pocket. Tuition guru cool. Where you explain the concept, get hit with the exact follow-up question that finds your gap, and clear the doubt the second it appears. Any subject, any hour, no judgment. It's linked in the description below, waiting on the nights when no one else is awake to ask you why. The reframe. Now look back at the whole list and see the thing it was secretly showing you the entire time. Highlighting, rereading, cramming, pretty notes. Every technique at the bottom shared one feature. It lets you stay comfortable. Spacing, recall, teaching, every technique at the top shared the opposite one. It forced you to struggle, to produce, to reach for something that wasn't quite there. That's the only variable that ever mattered. Not the color of your pens, not the hours on the clock. Just one question asked of every single minute you study. Is my brain working, or is it just watching? The lie you were sold is that studying should feel like absorbing. It doesn't. Real studying feels like effort, like failing a little, like the uncomfortable strain of dragging an answer out of an empty page. The discomfort you've spent years avoiding was never the obstacle. It was the learning itself. Every topper you've ever envied wasn't handed a better memory at birth. They just made peace with the strain sooner than you did. They learned to chase the feeling of not quite knowing instead of fleeing from it, because that feeling is the doorway, and comfort is the wall you keep mistaking for it. The best technique was never really on this list. It was the willingness to feel stupid for 20 minutes tonight, so you don't have to feel stupid in the exam hall in June. Somewhere right now, a student uncaps a yellow highlighter and feels that warm glow of getting absolutely nothing done. 4 hours will disappear. They'll blame themselves. The cycle doesn't stop. The trap catches almost everyone. But not you. Not anymore. Put the highlighter down, close the book, and try, from nothing, to remember.